Hey, it says I'm live. Okay, supposedly we're going to try this again. We'll see. Am I live? Okay. Is that, I can't tell what I'm seeing there. Why is this not? Okay, bear with me because apparently I do not understand. Okay, finally. Hello, Lady Hawk. This is this has been a difficult one to grasp this morning. It's not that I haven't been live. Well, I guess I haven't been live in a while, but still. Um, so today is Saturday, July the 26th, 2025. And oh, Lori, hello, sweetheart. I did get your message. I haven't looked at your email yet, but I don't see any reason why we can't do next Friday. Well, I can't see any reason at the moment. But I also want to share something very interesting that happened this morning. So there's a bunch of stuff I want to share with you, um, all of you who are here. It seems like there's a lot trying to come in this morning for me. The minute I decided I was going to go live, I found myself sitting here staring off into space. Um, and generally that means something's trying to come in. But also, I've been recording again this morning a couple of Jason's works, and I really just cannot unsee how this is working for me. As I shared in one of the recordings, and this is the way it's been for years now. When I am nudged to record and share something, I don't read it for myself first. Unless I'm started reading it, it used to be that I would start reading something and then get the nudge, sometimes even halfway through the reading. But that was when I wasn't really tuning into myself as much as I am now. Um, with Jason's work, I know right away that I'm supposed to record it. I don't get that I'm supposed to record it right then. So I save it and then I go back through my saved items to see which item I'm to record that day. And boy, oh boy, the list is really long of stuff I'm supposed to record, but I just don't know when, right? So I cannot unsee the progression of how it goes or how I'm nudged. And for me personally, what I'm noticing, and this goes into how I feel about the fact that if we relax into ourselves and trust ourselves, that's the biggest thing right there for me anyway, has been learning to trust myself, relaxing into myself. Because the truth of the matter is, we're taught from the time we're teeny tiny that we're not to be trusted, that, somebody bigger, more knowledgeable than us has the better answer or the correct answer. And therefore, we can't be trusted. At least for me, that's how this has gone down, right? So I can't unsee how, by learning how to trust myself and trust that I will know what to record, when to record it. What I've noticed I'm showing myself is also having to do with my where my psyche is in the moment and what I can glean from what I'm reading, what I'm sharing. Now, I don't know if this, if any of you are experiencing this for yourselves. I would imagine that you are. I mean, at least in some degree, unless you just haven't allowed yourself to see that yet, which is possibility. Okay, so I'm just now seeing the card that came out for surrender. Surrender your fear of change. You see why that's so funny for me is that Laura Walker, who is the creator of oraclereport.com, I credit her with my very first beginning to grasp energy and energy as it relates to astrology. And she channels astrology really through herself, also in terms of the Sabian symbols, which the Sabian symbols are a collection of symbols that do the full 360-degree round of the zodiac for each day of the degrees of the zodiac, for each degree of the zodiac, not day. And she also, and you can go to oraclereport.com and you'll find a free, click on the books tab and you'll find her free book about the Black Moon Lilith and her work in regards to that, which I highly recommend. And my Black Moon Lilith sits on Leo, is in Leo when on my natal chart, and that is the shadow of order, and it comes with it the primary fear of change. That's why I'm laughing, because oh, Sheila is afraid of the. You resonate with that card. Yeah, I think almost everybody, to some degree, if they are honest with themselves, to varying different degrees, have but I don't know necessarily a fear of, but almost nobody likes change. But boy, when I realized that the truth in that statement, it was a little bit of a shock to me. So the fairy godmother came out of the fairies oracle deck. It was a bit of a shock to me to have that come out. But then on the other hand, not. You know what I mean? I don't know how to talk about that. But now, at any rate, I also wanted to share something that happened right before this live that I also cannot unsee. So I'd been recording some of Jason's work this morning. And then it dawned on me that I hadn't heard from Jason and I hadn't been here live. And I thought, well, because I've been moving through some things myself, health wise, And as Lori can attest, because we were supposed to meet yesterday, and I just could not pull it out for nothing. Um, one of the biggest issues for me right now is I've gotten myself dehydrated, and of everybody on the planet, that's I know what being dehydrated can do to the human body. And so I've been having some real struggles with it because in order for the human vessel to operate optimally, the heart, lung, the vital organs require half the body's weight in ounces of water every day. Every day. And if one drinks coffee, you need to add 4 ounces additional, because 8 ounces of coffee removes 4 additional, because it's a diuretic, 4 additional ounces of water from your tissues. And so I have not made sure I've done that ever since my conga machine took a dive. I haven't been able to pull that off. Oh my goodness. The crossing initiation. Okay, so this explains a lot. At any rate, the lungs and the heart have to have that in order to operate optimally. And if the body does not get it, the heart, the lungs, the liver, it will begin stealing it from other places, because that's what it does. Namira. Oh, hello, Namira. Welcome. She says I say she. I apologize if you're male, you feel female to me. So either you are female or you're strongly in your feminine. Lady Hawk said change holds some loss. That's sad sometimes. Yes, it does. You're right. Even when it's not sad, giving up something we know for the unknown, it's the unknown, really. For me, I think it's the unknown that evokes the most fear within us. Anyway, I got off track there. I wanted to share with you what happened because I reached out to Jason, and the moment I started thinking about reaching out to him, I could smell a male cologne in my room. And Jamie's Cowboys, well, welcome. Thank you, Namira, for letting me know that. And Jamie's Cowboys is new as well. Welcome. I hope you enjoy being here. This is really just me in front of my mirror having a little therapy session. To be honest, that's what this is. And y'all are helping me with that. So thank you so much for being here. At any rate, I started, and so when I chatted with him through private message, I asked him, I said, are you wearing cologne? Because all of a sudden, and because I'm having trouble with my breathing, it was causing me some distress. I have a nebulizer that I keep on hand, and I was just sitting here. I wasn't even doing anything. I was just sitting here getting ready to do this live. And he reported to me that he was wearing Axe body spray. Axe body spray is one of those body sprays that sets my breathing off every single time. Every time. I think it's because there's some particulates in that spray. I mean, I can be walking behind somebody and they be way far ahead of me and it take my breath away. Okay. So that made a lot of sense to me. And so to prove it to myself that I wasn't going crazy, I asked my housemate to step into my room. Now, she didn't do that right away because she didn't see my message. She came in a while later and I said, "Oh, it's already dissipated." And she said, "What?" And I said, "A male cologne." And she said, "Oh, no, it has not dissipated. You've become nose blind to it because I smelled it the minute I walked in the room." So that's very interesting to me, you know. The illusion is breaking down, it would feel, on some very real levels. Well, this one came flying out. Sky, lightning, moon. Not had this one before. On some really interesting levels to me. And so one of Jason's writings that I know I will be recording today because it caught my eye does have to do with telepathy. And the truth of the matter is, for me, telepathy is so much more than what we've been led to believe. It's not anything like we might think it is. Our interconnectedness is so, to me, just that getting that odor in my room, you just have to wonder about that, don't you? What do you, there's 9 of you in here right now. So tell me, what do you think about that? Like I said, I asked my housemate to step in here. I'm still having a little bit of breathing issue from it. At any rate, well, that's where it's at for now. I do feel like there's I personally, I've been away from the channel this week a lot. Part of it has had to do with, like I said, this health thing that I'm moving through, and for me, that has everything to do with what's taking place with the human vessel. There's a part of me that feels that the human vessel is moving through energetic upgrades. And there's been so much damage done to this particular vessel that sometimes it's a little hard for me to keep up. I just have to keep moving forward as I go, and I appreciate you guys, understanding that. For those of you who are also subscribed to New Light Streaming Love, which is my collaborative channel with Chris Hemphill and Lisa Flamino Rush, my housemate. And if you are not subscribed to New Light Streaming Love, I highly recommend that you do so, because Crystal has been on fire this week. You got to go there and subscribe and check out the videos that Crystal has been putting up. She is just on fire this week, and I cannot recommend enough what because she really is hitting it on all levels for me. So I think you guys would find it very valuable. And you never know. Sometimes I go live over there and don't post it over here. There's going to be times coming up here where there's going to be conversations that are held over there live that won't appear here at all. And there will be things over here that won't appear over there. So make sure you're subscribed in both places. I mean, if you want to, there's no big deal one way or the other because, they kill our algorithm. They kill the algorithm for this channel no matter what. So surrender your fear of change. The universe is reminding you that you are cared for always. Whether you're afraid of a change in your job, your health, or a relationship, or if you fear aging or death, repeat the affirmation, I have faith that all is well. I'll tell you what my mantra, my repeating mantra this week has been, this too shall pass. Especially when one is unable to catch their breath. This too shall pass, this too shall pass, because it's, the moment that happens, the body starts going into panic a little bit, not going to lie. And when the body is in panic, the heart rate picks up and all of a sudden we're off to the races. So this too shall pass has been a big one for me this week. Man of the earth, woman of the sky. Haven't had this one before. This is from the Journey of Love Oracle. Elena Fairchild and Rasuli, artist Rasuli, card number 48. That is a 3 numerologically, which I just recorded the law of the triangle of Jason's work. So that's very interesting. And 3s have always surrounded me. And the truth of the matter is, for me too, I was saying for a long time that we are moving from duality into triality. I understand why now I was saying that. Because I think it's always been here, but I personally didn't see it. I don't know how many of you can relate to that. Yeah. And see, there's a lot about the veils being out there, and maybe there are some out there. But the only thing that really explains for me how I can see something so clearly and others around me can't see it lends itself to being the veils are inner. They are in here. They're internal. They're not out there. I mean, there may be some out there. I'm not going to say there's not, but most of them are inside. They are unique to each vessel, the veils. And they only drop if the being wants them to drop, is ready for them to drop, maybe on some level of them actively seeking them to drop. And they only drop as the psyche, the individual psyche, can handle it. I am convinced of that. At least that seems to be the way it's working for myself at this juncture. Wow. There seems to be a lot of energy running through this room. You guys aren't really saying anything, but there's a lot of energy running through this room right now. I can feel it. So, man of the earth, woman of the sky. I see myself in you and you in me. We may seem to be so different and sometimes yet so similar. Even beyond this, I know deep within that we are one. I do believe that my own self. I can lose myself in your light and receive your light with my body. I can witness the darkness of your shadow and enter into it with my compassion. I can find the divine in our connection, letting go of what I thought I was. I can be broken apart to become as one with you, even if only for a second, and know the divine more intimately than ever before. Our passion leads us to each other, and in each other we find our true selves. This oracle brings you a message of sacred relationship that leads to divine understanding and experience. You are being opened up to sacred relationship either in your current relationship or one that is on its way to you now. That's very interesting because this other card is the initiation. And there's a card here of lightning and moon and fear of change for me. So now, so that especially those of you who are new here understand that for me, these readings are always for me, but I also feel that if you've been drawn here, there may be something here for you as well. Don't ever take anything I say for you as gospel, because that's not how any of this works. But the very fact that you were drawn here, the very fact that you're still here, the very fact that you are tuning into my words, for me, tells me there's something here for you. At least that's the way I look at it for myself anyway. So it says you are being opened up to sacred relationship, either in your current relationship or one that is on its way to you now, in human relationship and in divine relationship with the heavenly beloved. Know you are worthy of it and keep a light of gentle hope and respect kindling in your heart as you anticipate the union with your beloved. Know that even when it is dark, when it challenges you, there is sacredness unfolding. The love of the divine wants to reach us not only in our happiness, but also perhaps more so in our darkest hour. Let it reach for you through your relatedness with another, and do not be afraid to be broken and opened, for in that cracking of what you thought you were, you shall begin to know what you are, which is heaven on earth. I've heard this from so many folks that are reading tarot or have read tarot for some time and who have backed away from it. Those who are unwilling to look at themselves or can't, or whatever the reason is, and are coming for tarot readings to, when is my boyfriend going to leave his wife kind of reading. I personally have never been interested in that sort of a reading. This is a personal journey for me that I just know I'm supposed to share out loud. I personally have used tarot as a method of focus and attention to be able to hear my own inner voice, my own inner guidance. And I do these things like this, mostly because I don't do it any other time, except for when I'm doing it like this. Number one, but also, like I said, there's always something in it for you as well if you show up here. And if if that provides something for someone else, that's a win-win situation as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know if that helps, but I also look at everything as being me with me, by the way, too. This whole beloved, that's my larger, more expansive self, that which is not my ego, that which animates me. I look at myself as a multidimensional being. I don't know if you guys do, but there's the programmed personality Sheila who thought for a long, long time that there was nothing but, this life. And when this life was over, maybe reincarnation was real, maybe it wasn't, and now I see things totally differently. I think we are all one and singular all at the same time, multidimensional, if you will. See, it's like graduating circles within circles within circles. It's that, well, actually, Crystal refers to it as a spiral. So does Jason. It's a spiral situation. How rare to be born with a name of love. What challenges await that I must face, or voice to listen to from above, telling what I must embrace. Each day I walk a path unknown, with no regrets for where I've been. Each experience is mine to own. No choices called to live again. How strong I am, I ask myself. The measured test unfolds each day. A blessing of enormous wealth inside the gift will always lay. Wow, that is pretty deep there. Even in this artwork, the spiral is depicted. There's been a lot of folks that have responded in the comments in some of Jason's work about the spiral, because I said in that video that I always drew spirals as a kid and as a teenager and as an adult on the phone or whatever, just mindlessly draw a spiral. I think a lot of us apparently did, according to what I was saying. Okay, so this one wants to come out next, even though it wasn't the next one that was pulled. The initiation or the crossing, and the key word is initiation. And I think that really is what's been happening with me on some levels this week. There's initiatory stuff going on. I don't know how to explain that, but so the crossing, rite of passage, initiation. This is a card number 54. That's a 9. 9 to me always signifies the end of something. The winding down of something. You have come to stand on one side of a river. The opposite bank leads into the darkness of the eternal cave. Well, there's a reason to be afraid, isn't it? The unknown, the eternal cave. Interesting. Where the old dies and then is born again. This is a place where time is forgotten and the seasons cease their dance and stand still, as if in a temporary repose. You must cross the river now, honoring and respecting this transition, for it's time to say goodbye to your old ways of navigating your world. Don't be afraid. You've come to the edge of the river because you're ready. You're ready to let go of what doesn't serve you and all the ways in which you've kept yourself from truly living. Intimacy requires vulnerability and truth. Yeah, you'd be surprised at how many people equate the word intimacy only with sex. I because that's been a huge thing in my life over the last several years since my last marriage broke up. For whatever the reason, a lot of people, it keeps coming up and again and again and again, how the word intimacy is equated only to sex. And I don't know how many of you are females out there, but as a female, I will say to you, it may be true that only certain amount of intimacy is required for there to be sex, but at some point, after 28 and a half years of marriage, there has to be something more than that. Intimacy, true intimacy, is not just sex. That doesn't take but so much. And it's over pretty quickly, and it's not the most important thing in a relationship. Not by any means at all. And for me personally, as I was, and I couldn't be mad at him. Oh, I could not be mad at him because I wasn't intimate enough with myself. I didn't know who the hell I was, much less who he was. And even when I did start getting to know myself, I certainly didn't show up as who I was because I didn't even know who I was and what I am at all on any sort of level. So, how in the world could anybody expect a relationship to last if even you don't know who you are? Because trust me, until one is steps out of that, oh my goodness, talk about the river of denial. I just said those words to my housemate a little as I was walking through the living room a minute ago. There's nothing deeper than the river of denial. Trust me on that one. Wow, how did I get there? This is a place where time is forgotten and the seasons cease their dance. Stand still as if in temporary repose. You must cross the river now, honoring and respecting this transition, for it is time to say goodbye to your old ways of navigating your world. Don't be afraid. You've come to the edge of the river. Wow, and I did just say that about the river of denial too, didn't I? Before I ever pulled this card. Interesting. Just seeing that for a moment there. You're ready to let go of what doesn't serve you and all the ways in which you've kept yourself from truly living. Intimacy requires vulnerability and truth. Can you strip away the masks and the barriers of false strength to discover what you are truly made of? Step in the boat waiting for you. Let it carry you into the cave where the shadows are waiting to be illuminated so you can be born again into the world without denial or artifice. Making the crossing is a beautiful, powerful act of the highest love. Well, I'm not quite sure. I feel like there's something trying to come through for me personally about that. I'm not standing on the precipice of anything that I can relate that to specifically, except for this with my health. Well, and there may be a transition for me coming up that I'm fearful of. That's the other thing that I'm feeling into at this moment, because there's so much going on with my health. Not being able to breathe and the body going into panic and fear over it is quite the thing. Now I want to. I moved these two cards over here together because they're the last two cards, and I want to remark on how similar the coloring now, because it's not showing up there. This looks more blue on camera than it does purple and gray. But off camera, looking at it here with my eyes and not on the screen, those colors are almost identical. Yeah, see, it's showing up more blue on my screen. I don't know if you guys are seeing it as blue or purple, but wow, I can't get over how close those cards are. That's very interesting to me. The fairy godmother from the Brian Froud and Jessica Macbeth's The Fairies Oracle, card number 25, is a 7 numerologically. For me, 7 always spoke to the divine number. I think most people would probably say that. She's in the helpers category. The fairy godmother keywords: gifts, talents, grace, helpful lessons. One morning recently, I was having breakfast at the local cafe, and my favorite waitress, Peggy, stopped by my table and asked what I was working on. I showed her my scribbled in copy of Good Fairies, Bad Fairies, and explained that I was choosing the cards for an oracle deck. Of course, the fairies were choosing them, but I didn't necessarily want to explain that to the whole cafe. Peggy had been having a bad morning with difficult customers, and she had reached the stress point where she was dropping and spilling things, which only made matters worse. I encouraged her to pause for a bit, since the cafe wasn't really busy, and take a look at the fairy pictures. She thought she couldn't, but I employed the piper's wiles of friendly coaxing, and she took a little time out to look. When Peggy got to the page of the fairy godmother, she stopped and smiled. "Oh, yes," she said, "she must be in the deck. Definitely she must." The longer Peggy looked at her, the bigger her smile grew, and the more insistent she was that I include Sassy in the deck. When she went back to work, I noticed that she had a little smile on her face, and her whole energy had changed. Things were not jumping out of her hands any longer either. This is how Sassy, the fairy godmother, works. She gives us grace to help us along our way. It might be a little touch of fairy dust to lift a mood. It might be a conspicuous miracle. It might be anything in between. She protects us from the ill will and plain stupidity of others and from our own mistakes. She untangles the snarls in our psyches and bestows gifts upon us, whatever she feels we need. Sometimes she gives us choices when we thought we had none. Grace is the good fortune we get from the universe, even when we don't deserve it. In fact, deserving or not deserving is not the issue. We are, and therefore we are loved. It is that simple. Sassy, the fairy godmother, is a giver of grace, and occasionally, quite often in fact, of useful lessons. She tries not to interfere with our learning process, but she adds that little touch of fairy grace that helps us to learn a little faster sometimes. Quite often, she acts in our lives through the hands and hearts of others. The fairy godmother is the only one to wear a crown of stars, flowers, and branches, which says a lot about her. Luckily, each of us has a fairy godmother to provide the extras that our guardian angels are often too busy to think about. Fairy godmothers in general are well known for their love of parties. Don't forget to invite them to your festivities and special occasions. The fairy godmother glows through us as we perform loving and appropriate kindnesses for others and develop our capacity for unconditional love. Sayri offers last minute rescues. When she turns up in our readings, good things may well be happening that we don't think we deserve, or that we deserve but haven't thought to ask for. Almost imperceptibly, she teaches us about giving and receiving unconditionally. I lost my place there. Helping us to open our hearts to love and acceptance. She sometimes showers us with abundance. Keep an eye out for an unexpected good fortune, especially when you thought you saw bad luck headed your way. Remember to say thank you by passing a kindness on to someone else. Practice a little fairy godmothering yourself and see how enjoyable it is. Part of the fun is to do it so that the recipient doesn't know where the gift came from. Well, that's really good advice, isn't it? I don't know. I do feel very much like this is a protective energy. Like for me personally, I feel as though the message that I can take from that, if I was at all concerned about the fear of change and this initiation thing, because of my health, man, I'm telling you, it's been a big challenge. When the body feels like you can't catch your breath, it's a little bit of a freak out, not gonna lie. So I feel like that's kind of telling me that, this too shall pass, because that has also been, my mantra of late. So, sky, lightning, moon. From the alchemy elementals. Okay, wait a minute. That's not the right. Oh, that's okay. That's why. Page number 65. That is an 11 numerologically. 65. Sky, lightning, moon. Here we go. When life kicks you in the ass or knocks you down or throws a big old handful of dirt in your face, which, not being able to breathe could feel like that. The most important thing you can do to support yourself through the experience is to feel it and to acknowledge your suffering. When we go through intense and painful experiences, as every human being does, that suffering opens up doorways in our consciousness that expand our perspectives and give us a deeper understanding of ourselves and of humanity. I agree with that. These experiences transform our understanding of the world and allow us to perceive from a higher level of intelligence. Our intuition grows stronger. We become aware of new concepts, new structures, and new patterns. all because we allowed these challenging moments to shape us and to transform us. Allow yourself to feel the pain you are enduring, to acknowledge that pain, and to follow it through the portals of expansion that are there to deliver you. Wow, that's a huge message for me on so many levels. I don't know about you guys, because that also sort of speaks to the initiation card as well. You follow through that portal. That could also be seen as a type of initiation to surrendering the fear of change. And which is the biggest one for me, by the way. I really feel like, and it could have something to do that my Black Moon being in Leo and it being the primary fear for the people that have the Black Moon in Leo. But I feel like we all have that. The fear of the unknown is could be one of the basic fears for everyone in a very real way. But I don't think we have to fear it. Not anymore. I really, now that doesn't mean my body don't still go into fear, and that sometimes the little ego personality Sheila doesn't go into fear. I will share this with you. My housemate Lisa Flamino Rush, she who is also one of the collaborating team members over on New Light Streaming Love, she's been quite absent of late due to some illness, but she is getting stronger, and we will be engaging in some conscious conversations because, oh, she has some stories to share, some big stories to share. She's been in the hospital 7 times since January, and a lot of stories to share. But she told me once early on in our affiliation that she heard from Anelia Benz. I don't know if you've ever heard of Anelia Benz. She's somebody in the Awakening Light Workers community, that fear is an invitation, and one that we really do not have to accept. And boy, you know, that hit me. I mean, that made a lot of sense to me. The story Anelia tells that she was in bed one evening and it was a hole opened up above her bed, and this big scary entity put its head in and trying to make her go into fear, I assume. And she said, "Oh, look, an entity." And he left. And that made a lot of sense to me, because had she gone into fear, that's a contract now. That is an agreement to, I'm going to play frightened being, and you're going to play big scary alien or big scary entity, and we're going to have this little. That made a lot of sense to me. And so not to be outdone, apparently that ended up being put to the test for me in a very real way. A couple of weeks after I had a soul retrieval ritual done by Lisa Risenberry, who used to do conversations with me on Conscious Conversation Central. She's training to be a Tibetan Lama, one of the first in the United States. And she offered one time to do this ritual for me. And it sounded interesting, and I said, "Oh, I'd love that. And then maybe we could do a conversation about it." And so I did that. A few weeks later, I'm laying in bed at night going, just right before sleep. I felt and heard something enter my room. And I could see it behind my closed eyes. And it were scary looking. And I remembered what Lisa had said, and I didn't want to go over into full blown fear. So, yes, it frightened me, no doubt. But I also knew that I had been practicing a mantra of more of me into me. And I had just did this whole soul retrieval ritual. And I also felt on a large level of myself that I'm a multidimensional being and we are all one. So if something shows up in my room, it's for me. And since I'm in the business of pulling myself into myself and holding myself, I said to this big scary entity that was stomping around my room, I just said, I know that you're another part of me and I love you. And of course, what I heard in my mind's ear was, I am not a part of you. I am not here for you. And you couldn't possibly love me. Rah, rah, rah. And I am not going to kid you, I was a bit frightened, but I just kept beaming love, beaming love, beaming love. Because how could I do a soul retrieval ritual and then be surprised that some big scary being showed up in my room? Do I think that I'm all just love and light and no shadow at all? Oh, is that the game I'm trying to play? No. So trust me when I tell you that this is a big order of business right here. There's so much about ourselves we don't know. We only think we know who we are. And I'm just getting started. Where are you in that process? I'd love to hear some of that. Well, you guys are hanging out, but you're not saying a word. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this reading. I hope you got something from it. I know I did. I got a lot from this reading. I really do feel like Sari is here to give me grace to know, for me to know that I am loved and I am safe. No matter what happens. You see, I'm also pretty sure we don't have a clue about what death actually means or is. And if this body passes, okay, it's gonna someday. I'm 63, you know? Have no idea when that's gonna happen. But I have to surrender my fear of it no matter what. Because it will happen at some point. Am I ready for it to happen now? No, I really would like to hang around a little bit longer. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate you sticking around. Boy, there's an awful lot of you in here, and I'm grateful to you for hanging around. Do know that Jason has shared with me that he will be coming back for another conscious conversation. He just doesn't know when. And he kind of goes by his feeling. So there's going to be no, I thought maybe I would be able to tell you guys ahead of time, but it's looking like that's not going to happen. So make sure that you're subscribed and the notification bell if you want to be here live for any. And honestly, even at that, I can't guarantee that that's going to happen. And I'll tell you why I say that. I've noticed that even though I'm subscribed to channels and I have the notification bell clicked, that sometimes when they go live, I'm not notified. I don't get the notification until a day or sometimes 2 days later. So I don't even know what to say about that. I do know that that happens here too, because some of you have reached out to me and said, I'm subscribed and I got it notified. I don't understand why this is happening like this, but neither do I. I wish I could tell you. So thank you guys so much for being here. And until we meet again, I hope you will move towards that which brings you joy. It is a matter of your perception and your perspective, or it's your perspective actually, and your perception of your perspective. And if you don't find joy in something that's presenting itself to you, maybe step back and think about it. You might see it from a different standpoint. Take a different perspective. I find there's more than one way to see something, to consider something, to look at something. And so it could be the perception that you're carrying of that perspective. And also, if you find yourself drawn to something, there's probably something there in it for you. That's what I find for myself. And I think that's probably true for us all on some level. So until we meet again, be well, my friends.